There has to be a point at which Dad comes home. And he's pissed. Dad is pissed. He's not vengeful. He loves his children. Disobedient as they may be, he loves them. Because they're his children. They live in his house. But he's very disappointed in their behavior. And he's going to have to let them know. He's going to have to get to your room right now and think about what you did. And when Dad gets home, you know what he says? You've been a bad girl. You've been a bad little girl, and you're getting a vigorous spanking right now. And now,
it's gonna be a spanking. That's right. It's another episode of Elsie's Little Pickles, and that was Carl Tuckerson, or Tucker Carlson, depending on how you like to say his name, threatening a vigorous spanking. A vigorous. You're going to get a vigorous spanking from Tucker. Jesus Christ.
What a weirdo.
I
want to know the context of which was that just on his show?
No, that was at, I think that was a CPAC.
it's not going to hurt me more than it hurts you.
Turning Point. That's what.
Oh, of course. It's Turning Point.
Turning Point, yeah. So,
yes.
and he even went so far as to an end of it go, it's not going to hurt me more than it hurts you. It's going to hurt you, and you've earned it. This is silly season under normal circumstances when it comes to politics. But when it comes to like the MAGA world and Trump and all this, I mean, this is now they're talking about spanking little girls. Okay. All right. If that's what we're doing.
I have absolutely no doubts that Carl Tuckerson refers to Trump as daddy. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
It would see
sure
the funny thing is that when Trump lost in 2020, remember those recordings came out or something came out about how much he couldn't stand him. Like he was just thrilled to be done with it. And now apparently Tucker is back on, the mushroom fucking lap.
He's back on the tip.
He's back on the tip. He's going right from the nozzle. He's going. We're talking like this is like laying underneath a Guinness tap for him. Like it doesn't matter how much it foams up.
Dog down the highway.
Yeah, he is just all in.
Did I say highway? I meant hallway.
Hallway.
What is
highway.
wrong with me?
That's all right. We all knew what you were talking about. And again, I know that this is silly season. I know this is kabuki theater time. I know this is let's scare the shit out of everyone if they don't vote for me or my guy. But come on. I mean, honestly, is that the level that we're at when it comes to this?
Well, I think Carlson there is really actually hoping for an October surprise.
Yeah.
Wink, wink.
Wink, wink.
Nudge, nudge. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
I think he wants to get on J.D. Vance's sofa, bent over the arm of the sofa. And I think he wants Trump to give him a bare butt spanking, open-handed, no belt. He wants to feel the flesh. And I think he wants to watch J.D. Vance from the other side of the couch, just yanking it as much and as
staring him in the eye,
just locking eyes. And it's just, this is happening now. And mind you, while Tucker gets his vigorous spanking,
now let me
so
ask
does
you
JD's
a
cock.
question. Let me ask you an important question.
Yes.
Can you name a celebrity that you would do anything to bang?
Ooh, that's a good question. I got to imagine that there are a few.
Now,
absolutely.
You don't have to publicly say who.
No, I would
Just picture it in your mind.
I absolutely would say who, but since I don't have to, I'm not fucking gonna.
I don't want to incriminate you.
No.
But just picture the person you want to do most.
I
Now,
got it.
You have the opportunity to have sex with them. However, it comes at a price.
Okay, and the price
and
is?
that price is the entire time you're banging that celebrity. Tucker Carlson's going to be running a play-by-play and staring at you up close
I'm out.
in
I'm
the
out.
eyes the
I'm
entire
out.
time.
I'm out. As soon as he walks in the room, I'm out. I don't even want to be like, I'm sure he's a nice guy. So that's the thing that annoys me about him is that I'm sure, because I've seen him in interviews since he left Fox that weren't his show, that were just him answering questions. Okay. And he comes across completely differently, he comes across completely differently. And I think a lot of what he's doing is, I know this is the show they want to see and that I can get paid for. I think that that's a lot of it. And I think that a lot of it, he doesn't actually believe. I think he's an opportunist.
Panderer.
Yeah, I think he's a panderer. And I think
money.
I think that, you see the same thing with, you see that with a number of them, but what's the blonde that used to be on Fox News? Megyn Kelly. I think with Megyn Kelly, you're seeing that too, because once she was no longer on Fox, and now there was, I'm sure a period of time where she was not allowed to do anything or go anywhere as far as like financially as a job. I'm sure that there was some sort of no compete clause for a period of time or whatever. And now she's back out and she's doing her own show, and it's kind of like Tucker. And I think that they're smart in doing it. Okay. I think that financially it makes more sense for them to be doing podcasting and doing their own thing. I don't think that legacy media, cable media, I think is dead. I think that they're all dying a very, very slow death along with print media.
Slow death.
Yeah, very slow death. So I think that they're on the front curve of that. And I think that they're doing the right thing for themselves as far as like being, even, as much as I dislike him, Don Lemon, he's trying to do his own thing. You see Cuomo trying to do his own thing, even though he's now on, I don't even know what channel or whatever. It's like OAN or some bullshit. News Nation, I think it is. But doing their own thing on the side, I think is very smart, because I think that gives them the opportunity to show, first off, who they really are. And their problem is that they're being too performative. Mm-hmm. Instead of just being who they are. They're trying, you see this with both Tucker and less with Tucker actually though. Megyn Kelly, you see this elevated, angry, kind of like, I'm going to be the Karen for all Republican women. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to call that manager. And it's a shame.
With Tucker, though, I some of that has got to be that he's on what? Twix only?
I don't know. I don't think it's
Does he even have a TV deal?
He does not, as far as I know.
I didn't think so. So he's not quite out there as...
No, but he's doing great with what he's doing. You know what I mean? Like, he's getting the numbers. His
haven't
podcast
heard his name until you pop that up.
His podcast knocked Rogan out of #1 spot.
Really?
For a period. Yeah,
that
like when
so
it first came out. Yeah, it knocked Rogan out for, I don't know, a week or two or whatever. But it's always consistently up there in those top numbers. Now, granted, they get to do things that we don't, and they have benefits that we don't. So they have the benefit of having their own deep pockets to pull out of, first off. Secondly, they have experience in media, and we don't.
Should I start saying nice things about George Soros?
Yeah, exactly. See if we can get him to...
I mean, apparently he's funding everybody.
Yeah, like, fuck. He's got money just shooting everywhere, just money cannons.
Shooting right out of his butthole.
Look, I'll take a butthole shot of cash. Let's go. It sounded way worse than I meant it.
Yeah, it did.
It didn't
I
even
didn't want to say anything.
Yeah, no. I caught it. I caught it myself. Yeah, I'll take a big shot of money out of a butthole. There we go.
Yeah.
Not that we're desperate for cash, but we're desperate for cash on Elsie's Little Pickles. So the thing that I think that is going on is it's too performative. And I think if they got away from that, they would actually, if they spoke, look, I'm not going to say that Megyn Kelly or that Tucker are bullshitting us and gaslighting us and not being who they really are. It just doesn't feel like it. And it doesn't feel like it because I've seen each of them outside of their little media bubbles. And I've heard the interviews where they come across as real people, not these
a real boy.
Not yeah. Yeah.
Pinocchio syndrome.
Yeah. So like the one thing I would wish, you can say a lot of things about you or me and on this podcast, but the one thing that you can't say is that we're just being performative. We're not doing it.
True.
We're not doing it because we think that this is what you like or what you want to hear. We're doing it because this is what we have to say. This is what's on our mind. These are the questions we have. And that's a very different thing than what those two are doing. Now, I would love to have the ability to get some of their guests. I would love, and maybe one day we'll be fortunate enough to be able to do that.
Well, I don't know about you, but I do try to be performative. In the future, when I ask questions, I'm going to sing them.
Okay, good. I was going to bring that up to you in our last meeting.
Right with that?
I am. Because I'll have to sing in response. It'll have to be a call and respond.
I think you should just answer, but sound confused. Like, what the hell is going on?
All right.
And I'll ignore that.
What does that mean? What are you talking about? I don't get it. So the thing of it is, though, is that what I find disturbing about, and we're what, 10, 11 days away from Election Day. I have no misconception that we're going to know on November 5th before everyone goes to bed who the winner is. That's just not going to happen. Anyone who thinks it is, I think is crazy.
You want to know something that kind of bugs me in a weird way? Calling it Election Day when we have early voting. What shouldn't that just be election cutoff day?
Yeah, well, that's the last day of voting.
I'm just saying.
Or just call it that. This is the last day of voting. Get your shit together. Come on in. Fill out a circle.
I'm just saying. It just seems in this day and age, and I'm all for early voting. I think it would be preposterous to have everybody line up on November 5th. You want to talk about not getting your vote in on time?
Well, that's what specifically MAGAs and Freedom Caucus would prefer. I mean, hell, the chair of the Freedom Caucus apparently, and I haven't read the story yet, I just saw the chyron on it, said we should just call North Carolina for Trump now. What? What? Why would we do that? Why would we do that?
At what point do they just call October 29th? There'll be early voting, but that'll be the purge day.
Yeah, exactly.
just saying.
They're already doing all kinds of nasty little things, trying to get people off of voter, trying to get votes disqualified. They knew the lessons that they learned in 2000. They have so many fucking lawyers in place trying to pull any kind of bullshit that they can pull.
Yes.
Even if it only gets 10 people disqualified. It's disgusting.
No, it's like I go back to the Houston story. 2020, the election in Houston. They had ballot drop-off boxes.
Mm-hmm.
Or should I say box. One box for the entire county, which, if you know anything about Houston,
it's huge.
It's got like 11 million people,
right?
At least, and they wanted one box.
I
If it's full, better
well,
luck in 4 years.
Yeah, good luck to you. I think that it's pretty evident that Democrats want more people voting, Republicans want less people voting, and the two shall never meet in the middle. I think that that's never going to happen. But I do think that we're at a point where it would seem like getting the early count, like being able to process those votes and actually count them ahead of time, might not be a bad idea. I don't understand why we can't, like, why we have to do the in-person first. Like, the people, like, why count the last people who to vote first? That doesn't make any fucking sense. And all it does is hold up.
That law they were trying to pass, and I think it was Georgia, where everything would be hand counted. And if like 3 people didn't get the exact same number, they're all just thrown out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but didn't that get overturned by the...
Yeah, but it's the fact that they tried to do that.
Yes, that's the thing they will try fucking everything. And if you're not paying attention, you're going to get fucked. Like, honestly, like, they'll throw so much spaghetti against the wall. They're going to get a couple of noodles to stick, and those noodles might fuck you in the ass, just like Carl Tuckerson wants to be spanked. It's going to happen. like the whole thing is just, I don't know. Anyways, why don't you take us to the news?
Well, in news, I don't know if she actually said this, but I want to throw this in there. I'm saying that she said it out of pure silliness, is that Stormy Daniels has announced that Trump is no Arnold Palmer. And another news.
I saw a meme that had Melania standing at a bar, and she says, yeah, "I'll have an Arnold Palmer." For those of you that don't know,
dick motherfucker,
Arnold Palmer was the topic du jour of Trump, specifically talking about how when he would take a shower in the locker rooms, he had just this massive fucking rope of a cock, and Trump just was enamored by it, I guess. So
he had a femur for a penis.
Yeah.
All right.
He would stand at the bar and just put enough to hang over the edge of the bar stool.
It's like a baby's arm holding an apple. Anyway.
He doesn't need a driver. He's got one.
That's the biggest 3-wood I've ever seen. George.
And meanwhile, like in the same news cycle, Donald Trump is fucking doing fry station at McDonald's. It's like a small fry and a large cock. There you go.
They've hired a new hamburglar. Judge orders the U.S. Army to release records on Trump's controversial Arlington Cemetery visit.
Good. You know, I don't think that
they should.
I think they should. I think they should. Everyone should know exactly what happened there. And I'm not saying he did anything right or wrong. I'm not saying either way. I wasn't there. I don't know. I'd love to see the report so I know. However, I think that just the fact that even became a story soured, from what I saw, a lot of veterans. I think a lot of veterans are kind of like waking up to him.
That story was quickly, there's nothing to see here. There's nothing to see here.
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, when you talk about...
There was a police report, by the way.
Well, I don't know why that hasn't been released yet.
Well, I can think of one reason why it hasn't. And Stacey Williams goes public with her allegations against Donald Trump.
Now, she was the swimsuit model, right? From Sports Illustrated? Is that who that was?
Correct.
Because I saw this other one. All right, so I'm not really familiar with the Stacey Williams one because I guess when I was looking up that story, I don't know. It makes sense that it would have been an old video, but there was, I think this is an old video back from when he was running in 2016, where this young lady was talking about how she had gotten raped while working for Epstein and lost her virginity to Trump. But I think that goes back to 2016. And again, I mean, I'm only reporting what this woman said. I don't know if that's true. But if true, what she had said was pretty fucking disturbing. Not just the fact that she was, I think at the time she started and first met Trump, she was 13, the same age that Ivanka was at the time, and that he specifically requested that she wear a blonde wig every time he saw her. And there were two or
blonde wig. Can I call you Ivanka?
Well, he never went that far. Okay.
No, but filling in the blanks.
Yeah, I mean, this woman was like, there was no two ways about it. This was some sort of deranged fantasy about him being with Ivanka. And I don't know if that's true or not, and I'm not going to say that it is, but what I will say is there's plenty of reason to believe it based on stuff that Trump has said himself.
Yes.
So, and that list is long. It's not just things he said, it's behaviors he's had around her. It's the way that he's hugged her. It's the way that he's kissed her. It's the way that he's fucked her in the ass. These are all things that I think, oh, wait, no, the last one, no.
Oh, I see. I totally found it believable.
Well, it's totally believable.
I could have swore I saw a mushroom print on her dress.
It wouldn't surprise me at all. Like, I hate to say it. And if any of that is true, God, I'm so sorry that you had to deal with that, Ivanka. That's horrible and horrible for anyone. But I'm very sorry for this poor woman who, if her allegations are true and if what she says happened, God damn, it was it was disturbing, the details that she gave. And the thing that was interesting about it was there were things that as I'm watching this, I'm like, there's things in this that I'm like, I don't know if I'm believing this one. I don't know. Like, my little spidey senses were tingling, going, I think she might be full of shit. And then
Is that what you call it? Your little spidey sense?
That's what I'm at least on the show. That's what I'm going to call it for now. But there, like, you would get to this point where you're like, I don't know if I fucking believe her. And then she would lay out like 2, 3, 4, 5 things that you go, oh, that's totally on brand. So then you start on questioning. Brand. Yeah, you start questioning. Okay, if that's on brand, is this what we didn't know? Or is this bullshit? You know what I mean? Because, like, I definitely want to give everyone the benefit of the doubt when it comes to stories like this. Now, the one that you're talking about, though, give me the details on that, because I just realized, or I just saw yesterday that this story came out, but I wasn't able to research it enough to feel comfortable to talk off the top of my head on it.
Well, the basis of it is that Williams has said that she first met Epstein at a dinner in 92, and they spent some time together in town. She said that was not sexual, but he introduced her to Trump.
Okay.
Which, yeah.
Well, here's the thing, though, about Trump. The girl that I'm talking about, she made it pretty clear that, like, at the orgies, Trump would not participate. And she said, while a lot of people may find that hard to believe, it will make sense once you understand that he's such a germaphobe. So there were two things that would go on. He specifically was looking for virgins because he wanted to make his mark where no one else had. So he was always looking for the virgin. On top of it, if she gave him, like, the first time was a hand job, she had to wear, a latex glove. Second time was a blowjob. She had to put a condom on him. Third time was he was basically raping her, or at least in her view, she was being raped. Whether he thought that or not, she did. And she had to put the condom on him. Imagine that. You have to put the condom on your fucking rapist. What's that?
That's just a step too far.
Yeah, well, it turns out it wasn't actually a condom. It was one of those little rubber fingers for
food prep. Within moments of meeting Trump, he pulled me into him and started groping me. He put his hands all over my breasts and waist and butt, and I froze. I froze because I was so deeply confused about what was happening, because the hands were moving all over me.
Well,
apparently He treated her like he treats his glasses of water.
Yeah. Both hands.
I don't mean to make jokes
Both
at
hands.
her expense. It's just the way he uses his hands in public.
Those tiny, tiny, tiny little hands. Trying to get that water bottle up to his fucking disgusting little worm lips.
And in other news, Trump ally Lindell, as in Mike Lindell of the My Pillow,
you're not going to
asked-
believe this. We've got pillows on sale. We're going to blow out everything. And the reason we're doing this is because I'm going fucking broke because I stood behind Donald Trump.
and they're only $14.88, which might be reminiscent of a famous group of numbers. But let me just say, Heil Hitler.
Because that's what I do. I am Mike Lindell.
Yeah, he has asked the court to overturn the award for debunking his U.S. election claims.
Wasn't it like $5 million or something like that he was going to give away to the first person that could prove that it hadn't been stolen? And like in 3 minutes, a dude's like, all right, I got the answer.
I'm your Huckleberry.
I'm here. Right.
And so, yeah, he asked Wednesday to have the $5 million award struck down in court against a man who successfully debunked his claims of 2020 election fraud.
You know that guy had to know when that happened. I'm going to have to pay for fucking
It was a part of his Prove Mike Wrong challenge, which he won the challenge.
I don't know. Have they made a judgment yet? Because last I heard, the first time it went through, he lost. So this is an appeal. I can't imagine he's got any new grounds to stand on.
But he doesn't, it mentions nothing of appealing whether it was wrong or not. He just doesn't want to have to pay anything. Even though he offered it as a prize.
Okay.
Thinking, that he...
Yeah, basically, that would be like us offering $5 million, knowing we don't have it, but expecting that no one could answer the riddle, and then somebody answers the riddle. And now we're like, wow, we were just kidding. I don't really want to do that. That sucks.
Let me hide behind my pillow.
I need a pillow.
And in other news, I knew this was coming, but Elon Musk's $1 million giveaway to voters just caught the Justice Department's eye. The eye of Sauron has turned towards Elon Musk.
The eye of Sauron.
You like that?
I love it.
Yes.
I'm
on to Musk. You know what I say? I say revoke his citizenship and kick him out of the country.
Yeah, that would be interesting. The problem is that unfortunately we need him. And I don't mean that. Well, I'm looking at it through like post World War II eyes. You want the people who, even if you disagree with them politically or in every way, shape, or form, the smart people you want on your side. And whether he's smart or not, I mean, I guess you could say that that's up for debate. You know what I mean? Like,
get the vote if we get to pick a random Cybertruck and throw a rock at the window and see if it's truly shatterproof.
So I'm a little bit on the fence about this because while I have incredibly mixed emotions about Elon, I do see some of the benefits of what he has done. I don't see the benefit of him jumping into the political arena. I do see the benefit, though, and this is as much as Twix is a dumpster fire, okay? He's done something that I actually agree with. And while I hate to see what the Twitter Twix X Town Square has devolved to, I think that his heart was in the right spot because he was and is very much a First Amendment person, freedom of speech. And
as long as he agrees with it.
Well, that's the argument right now. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know that he's got his fingers that deep in the actual day-to-day running of X anymore. I would be surprised.
There was the reporter, I think it was Don Lemon, who asked him a couple of hard questions and
and he fucking didn't want to have to deal with it. But
picked him off of Vex.
wait a minute, though. Hold on a second. Freedom of speech. I spent 30 years of my life as a comedian. Freedom of speech is absolutely 110% my jam. And that goes to whether I agree with you or I don't. So I just got into a very interesting conversation with your nephew, my son, and we have different opinions on this, to be honest with you. Now, maybe that's generational, maybe that's not, but we do have different opinions on it because I am a ride or die for free speech. Okay. And what I mean by that is not just speech I agree with. And that's where it gets difficult for most people. And it's not easy for me. But I would say that when it comes to freedom of speech, a lot of people don't first off understand kind of the rules of the road when it comes to freedom of speech. And we can get into that. But most importantly, while I think there is nothing worse than, we'll use as an example for political reasons, we'll use Nazism. Okay. And that came up in the conversation with me and my son. He brought up the Nazis protesting in front of Disney, right? Well, they had a right to. Apparently, they got permission to. I don't think that you should be able to just protest without permission. I don't think that freedom of speech has no boundaries. There are boundaries, and Colton made a good point. He's like, you don't have freedom of speech if you don't have certain boundaries, and he's right. But in this case, with what he's done with Twix, I think that while I disagree with what's come of it and what the conversation is out there, I still have to defend it. And it's like any other freedom. The harder it is for you to defend it because it goes against a lot of things that you believe, that's when you know you're doing the right thing. So as an example, I went back in the discussion with him. I went back to the Larry Flint story, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the movie with Woody Harrelson. And it was a perfect example to me because his lawyer did not like pornography, didn't like anything that Larry Flint did, didn't appreciate.
I think isn't that why Larry Flint hired him though?
Yeah, it's exactly. That's how smart he was. That's what I'm saying is like, that's how he's like, yeah, I need somebody that doesn't like me defending me. Right? Because at the time, the reason that he was in court, if I remember all the details correctly, and I'm drawing a blank on the televangelist that he went after, but he was going after televangelisms or televangelists, and
wasn't it Baker?
It might no, I think it was Roberts.
Jerry Falwell.
Falwell. That's it. It was Falwell, and he basically made some sort of joke about him having sexual relations with his mother or something like that. And Falwell took him to court. And it was clearly protected under parody law. Mm-hmm. But beyond that, what people don't realize is there's a different set of rules when you're a public figure. So it becomes a lot more difficult for you as a public figure to sue somebody for defamation or anything. And granted, defamation, a lot of times that goes by the wayside because it's so hard to prove that there was actual damage, especially financial damage caused to you because of what somebody else said about you. And I think these are all good things, right? Like, it may not go the way you want, but at least it's consistent. And
ironically, I just want to point out, back in the mid-'80s, there was the big PMRC. I don't know if you remember any of that, but there was a big hearing, which was September 19th, 1985, when Dee Snider testified.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Basically embarrassed them all.
Yeah, because he was more prepared and knew more about First Amendment than any of the lawmakers that were grilling him, if I remember that correctly, because that was right around the time that they were coming after all the heavy metal bands, saying that they were Satanists, and it was the evangelical wave over music because we want Christian rock stars.
Yeah, and then they wheeled out John Denver, who they were like, he's nice and safe, and he's going to set the record straight. And he came out on Dee Snider's side like, no, you people should not be doing this.
And then those two went and smoked a joint. And
Yeah, probably. They
but
got a
I guarantee you that John Denver did.
Oh yeah,
he was baked all the time.
Dee Snider did.
I don't know. I don't know if D might.
I honestly, I don't know. I would imagine.
I have a feeling that Dee Snider's kind of like Gene Simmons and doesn't touch any of that. Like, I don't know why, but for some reason, I don't think Dee Snider ever did drugs or drank or did anything.
Actually, I'm reading now that none of the members of Twisted Sister ever drank or smoked pot. They didn't party.
That's what I thought. I didn't think that they were
partiers. They did their own
partiers.
little thing, actually.
Yeah. It's like,
That's
people
pretty
don't believe it, but like the guys in AC/DC, they're teetotalers. They are like legit.
Not Bond, but
No, Bond wasn't, but like Angus and lead singer
Brian Johnson.
Thank you. Brian Johnson. They're kind of like tea snobs. Like big time tea snobs. And even Aerosmith, Steven Tyler, like he doesn't do anything anymore. I mean, he snorted up half of Peru, right?
Yeah.
But that was back in the day. But like nowadays, his big indulgence is a dessert after a show. Like, people don't realize, like, he's got a sweet tooth, so he wants a nice piece of cake, or he wants a nice pastry, or he wants something sweet. You know, like, that's his drug, is sweets.
Yeah.
And I think that makes sense, because as he's gotten older, he looks a lot more like a, New York City old lady than he does a rock star. And what do New York City old ladies love more than a sweet? Nothing. All right. So my question is,
yeah,
and I'm going to pose this in a couple different ways, but my question is, what are your thoughts on free speech, specifically when it comes to the environment we're in today? Now, mind you, there are multiple levels of freedom of speech, and there are multiple restrictions on freedom of speech. So as an example, the easy example, and the one that's always, trotted out there, is you cannot scream fire in a movie theater or in a theater,
yes,
unless there's a fucking fire, which I think is interesting. Mainly because the point behind that law is you are creating a circumstance of panic, which could cause people to get hurt. That makes sense. Same as pornography. So if you go back, the argument against pornography was, I forget what Justice said. I don't need a test on pornography. I know it when I see it, or some shit like that. Well, that got struck down. So now it has been refined to child pornography. You have freedom of speech when it comes to political speech, the freedom of assembly. I mean, nowadays, though, you do have to get a permit, but that makes sense, because if you have an assembly that disrupts everyone else's life, that's not fair to everyone else. So yeah, okay, great. As long as you get your permit, go have your assembly at the place, wherever. But I think people, and again, any type of character assassination, so on and so forth, that's all protected, blah, blah, blah. But to you, what do you think it is, and where do you see the limit? What's a step too far for you?
Well, let me quote a song that I used to love back in the day, and I'm sure nobody has thought about this lately, but it was an ingenious song, quickly banned on MTV. But it is a song by Anthrax called "Starting Up a Posse." And to quote Scott Ian in the song, "Now you may take offense to a word like fuck or shit, but you fucking don't have the right to discriminate me for saying it. You're fucking whores, that's all you are."
There you go.
The end.
And that, I think that's another Elsie's Little Pickles.
Now there is. I want to point out a distinction, though.
Oh, by the way, I have. Hold on, I have to say something. I did a
line.
I wish I did a line. That would be fucking great. Why can't?
Yes.
Why can't cocaine?
Can we do the podcast now?
Yeah. Why can't cocaine be legal? I would be so much more productive. I would get more shit done. So, I totally lost my train of thought there. Oh, the choo-choo went away.
Look at that.
Look at that.
You derailed me. Choo-choo right off the track.
You derailed me, you motherfucker. You son of a bitch, you.
That is my hobby in life.
All right, so your point, I think, is valid. But is there, like, speech that even you find yourself pushing?
Well, there is a fine line between free speech and hate speech. Something that threatens, like I'm all for denigrating. I will denigrate anybody. You know, Bob Newhart is famous for saying, I personally do not like country music, but I will not denigrate somebody for liking it. And for those who do enjoy country music, denigrate means to make fun of.
That's why he's on my Mount Rushmore of comedy.
That's right.
Bob Newhart, again, just hold on. Let me back this train up for a minute, because friend of the show, Kirk Nolan, at first he was like, when he heard our Mount Rushmore of stand-up, and he's like, Bob Newhart, really? And he had a lot of ideas of other people, and then he goes, and then I listened to the rest of the show, and he's like, no, you're fucking right, Bob Newhart. That's a perfect example of how subtle and just point on and no fat in the joke, and boom, there you go. And for those who are country music fans,
yes. There's a fine line between free speech and harming somebody. Whether, you know, a class of people, a group of people, any kind of hate speech, I'm just that person. While I don't, it's really hard to offend me. Really hard. I have heard the worst of the worst at any given moment, as I'm sure you have.
Oh, God.
But I had a friend, you know him, who volunteered for our future Twitch and Kick streams to moderate our chat room, so that if anybody takes a shot at us, we don't have to put up with that. And I was like, bruh, no, I'm a musician. My brother's a professional comedian.
Yeah.
There ain't nothing we haven't heard. And we are not above making an 8-year-old cry.
Yeah, fuck that.
I will sleep just fine at night.
I will slap that participation trophy right out of his fucking hands. Yes. I don't care.
You got two people here who have a history to verbally bounce people out of an area.
Well, I don't think it goes even further. What people don't realize is we grew up with Mom. So the namesake of the show, Elsie herself had spent so many years loving us. Absolutely. Undeniably.
Yeah.
Talking shit. 100%. Like the household that we grew up in built thick skin. And even if Mom hadn't done it to you and had only done it to me, I was doing it to you.
Oh, yeah.
Because definitely. You were the younger brother. So, like, even if you took Mom out of the fucking picture, the brutality in which you and I existed as siblings, verbally, physically, you know, as far as like getting into fights and you know, I mean, people don't realize. They don't. I hit you with a fucking frying pan. You know, I'll admit.
Yes. Before my birthday, you shoved my birthday cake into my face.
Yes, I did.
The day before. But
I was a prick. But the upside
in all fairness, I used to break all your toys.
Yes, and and a lot worse. So
but it's the point that, you know, I try to explain to them, there is nothing that anybody could say to me that I haven't said to myself looking in the mirror.
Yeah, you're not hurting me. You know, I don't when it comes to anything that is in the public sphere, I mean, personally, yeah, you can hurt my feelings. In the public sphere, fuck you. Good luck. Once I walk out that door or once it's out online, you are not getting to me.
In public, you're not
getting to me.
In private, you are not hurting my feelings. Feelings are people who are not dead inside. I'm dead inside.
So this gets to my point that I got into the discussion with my son. He is, as we all know, he helped, and actually he's going to cover for you next week. He's going to cover for you while you're traveling. And we're going to be doing a show on, it doesn't matter. We're doing a show. But the argument or the discussion that he and I got into was that he thinks that there should be more restrictions on speech. And I get where he's coming from, because where he was coming from was there is so much bullshit out there that we can't filter through it all. Like his point was, any media should be held financially responsible if they're caught telling an intentional mistruth, right? And I agree with that to a point. Like I'm counting on my news organizations to report the news as accurately as possible. But I don't want to put them in a situation where if they make a mistake, they can go bankrupt, right? But I do think that there should be some sort of, responsibility if you're going to say that you're a journalist, if you're going to say
well, it seems to me there's a difference between a mainstream media news, CNN, MSNBC,
Fox, OAN.
No, yeah. See, I don't count Fox because they paid out $750 million in court because they lied to their audience and admitted it in court. They said they are not news. They are a caricature, a bandwidth of viewership that is there to give an opinion rather than news. And I find that disturbing. I think after that point, they should have had their FCC license revoked for admitting that they lied to their audience.
Well, they should have not been able to say that they were news anymore.
Yeah.
Instead of Fox News, they should have said, okay, we're going to change the name to Fox Opinion.
Fox Meat Puppets.
Well, I don't have a problem with a network that specifically deals with news that is all about opinion. I don't have a problem with that. But you got to tell people that. You can't let them think that you're actually giving them news. Sean Hannity sitting behind the desk the way he does, he comes across as an anchor, as a news anchor.
Foxcath Network.
Yeah, I mean, and this is again, for as much as I disagree with Fox News, I will defend their ability to pump out whatever bullshit that because of freedom of speech. And that's where me and him got into a disagreement. But I was trying to explain to him, I kind of think that the Democrats have gone too far. So if I'm going to call bullshit on the fucking Republicans in an effort to actually be fair and balanced, when I see bullshit from the Democrats, I need to call that out too. And quite frankly, the Democrats have wrapped themselves up in politically correct language and bullshit speak and pronouns and all this other shit to the point where it's ridiculous. Look, I don't care who you are, what you love, who you want to love, who you think you love. I don't care if you think you're this or I don't care if you identify as a goddamn cat. It doesn't change my day at all until you say, sorry, sir, I'm not going to serve you until you refer to me as a cat. Okay, well, all right, look, you little pussy, go get me a fucking hamburger. How about that? And I'm not saying that to be mean to people. I'm saying that because no one fucking cares what you do. No one cares how you dress. We're past that point. And anyone who does care about how you identify, what your pronouns are, who you want to have sex with, who you don't want to have sex with, do you really want to spend any amount of your time giving a flying fuck about that person's opinion of you?
Mhm. Mhm.
Just live your life. And quite frankly, I don't care. Let your freak flag fly. Okay? The only thing I think I would ever kink shame anyone on, and it's not even kink shaming, it's just I don't get it because it would be fucking miserable in my opinion, is the furries. Look, sex, if you're doing it right, is already hot and sweaty. If you're doing it right. But when you're wearing a mascot outfit on top of that, God, I don't even know how you fucking breathe. And again, I'm not kink shaming you. I'm just simply saying, what do you have oxygen being pumped in? What the fuck is going on here that you're actually able to breathe, have sex, and wear that outfit? So again, you can send all the explanations to Elsie's little pickles at gmail.com. But I just don't get it. And it's not that I care. I don't even care. Okay? I just don't understand physically how that works. It's literally a logistical thing.
I used to work at an Amazon, and the person who worked in transport, like, we would get an order. We have to have trucks pulled into the doors, right? The bays. And so I would report over like, hey, is my truck ready in 117, 118, and 119? And this individual pulled up his shirt to reveal that he had a bra on. And he's like, what do you think? Kind of shocking. And I was like, cool. Is my trucks pulled in 117, 118, and 119? You didn't find that shocking? No. I don't care. It doesn't change my life one way or another. My truck's in at 117, 118.
That's all I care about right now.
That's what influences my life right now.
Yeah, and that's my point, though, is that I think that the Democrats have gotten a little bit too precious with language. In fact, I would go so far as to say a lot too precious with language. I would much rather complete and total freedom of speech, because you know what? When somebody says something, then I know who they are. And I'm not sitting there wondering, are they hiding their real feelings? I'm sorry, but I believe that if you know who you're dealing with, so if somebody comes to me and they say in a very negative way, they use the N-word,
mm-hmm.
I know who they are. I know what they're coming from, or at least I've got a pretty good idea of what direction they're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can adjust accordingly. I can either, if I need to, pretend it doesn't bother me that they're saying it, or I can refrain from backing down, and instead I can attack. I can not necessarily attack, but I go, you know what? I don't appreciate that. Then they know who I am. Then that relationship, for however long or short it may or may not be, is very clear. You're welcome to have those thoughts, but if you're going to do business with me, I wouldn't recommend saying that in front of me. I'll pretend all day long that I didn't hear you say that. If doing business with you in whatever form, friendship, whatever, business, I don't care. You at least have the opportunity at that point to make a decision on whether or not you're going to participate in that relationship. If they're being honest, if they're not holding back. And at that point, they can decide whether they want to have any type of a relationship with you. There are people out there, I'm quite sure, who are so racist that the last thing that they would want to do is have a relationship, business, personal, or otherwise, with me, who is somebody that does not take that shit into consideration. Like, I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in your bigoted hatred of a race of people simply because of their color of their skin or their space or the place of origin. I'm just not interested in you. If that's how you're going to, if that's the lens that you're going to focus your life through, then I don't know that I don't want to participate in that. I'm not criticizing you. I'm just saying I don't want to participate in that with you. Whereas when I find out after the fact, and I'm already knee deep in, let's say it's a business relationship and contracts have been signed, and now I know that I have to participate with this person, even though not everything was exposed to me in how this person thinks and does business. But now I know, and now I'm stuck. I would far rather have that come out in the beginning. And the only way to do that is to have no politically correct language, no restrictions on speech, no, like pronouns, whatever. Okay, fine. If you want your pronoun, it doesn't mean I'm going to fucking call you by that. And it doesn't mean that you deserve to be called by that pronoun simply because you say it. But it also doesn't mean that I have the right to ridicule you for feeling that way.
Well, let me ask you this. Very controversial question.
Oh, God.
Which of these is probably the more social incorrect wording? Like, which one is worse? Calling someone a faggot or calling somebody the N-word?
The N-word has a lot more weight.
Gravitas.
It's got a lot more gravitas. There's a lot more going. There's a lot more. Look, I think that here's why I didn't have any musical talent growing up. I just didn't. You got all of that.
You're telling me.
No, I mean, you did. You got all of it. I took like 2-3 years of piano and I still couldn't play fucking shit. You got all the musical talent. But what I had was a fascination with vocabulary and behaviors. Mm-hmm. And specifically with vocabulary, I think that the usage of words to communicate powerful ideas, powerful, heartbreaking sometimes, hurtful sometimes, but the message. We have to give certain words a certain amount of weight based on what the history behind that word is. Not even what the word necessarily means. Not even necessarily the actual definition of the word, but the emotional impact that that word brings with it. And when you're talking about the N-word, that brings a lot of emotional impact with it. When you say faggot, okay, in the United States,
yes,
that carries a lot of emotional baggage with it. Mm-hmm. But the thing is like, and again, I hate to sound like I'm defending that terminology. I'm really not. But when we grew up, it was a throwaway word. It didn't really mean anything. And if you called your buddy a fag, quit being a fag. Fag, fuck a fag. What are you doing, fag? It didn't necessarily mean what a homosexual man might feel from that when we were doing it with our buddies. That wasn't the intent. And that's what I'm saying. Like, when you're using the N-word, unless you're black, there's probably no one that's going to believe it's a term of endearment. Okay?
Well, the beautiful answer that I heard to this was, to ask me my opinion on that, you said one word and not the other, which tells you the correct answer to that question.
That's interesting. Instead of saying they're both offensive.
Yes.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really good.
That hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like,
oh fuck. That just hit me like a ton of bricks. I just got educated.
Brilliant.
I just got educated. No, really. I just like literally because when you place that as a question and it's an either or, your immediate assumption is I have to pick one of them. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And in reality, neither of them are great.
Yeah, neither one.
But and I'm not and not to try to defend my position, but it's going to definitely come across that way. There's an evolution of those words.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So
if you have an American and a Brit next to each other and you say the word faggot, you're going to have two different
It's ideas. A cigarette. Yeah, it's a cigarette in England. I mean, it has nothing to do with sexuality whatsoever. Correct. So I guess that's part of the reason why, like, even in the context of which I described it, I think that there's a defense there, because while it may have been originally meant as a incredibly negative way of addressing a homosexual man, the way that it was used as when we were growing up it didn't have that. I mean, there was negative to it. It was definitely negative. It was meant to be a poke in the ribs, but it wasn't meant to be hateful or hurtful. At least not in my circle of friends. It was the, it was kind of like, oh, come on, you fucker. You know what I mean? Why you got to be like that? Don't be like that. Right? So I know that sounds like a defense, but I can only speak of it as a Gen Xer who grew up in a period of time where it didn't really have that hard negative. It was negative, but not a hard negative.
We would write songs and the word gay would come up, and it didn't actually mean the slur or term that people think now. It was literally, don't play that. That's gay.
Right. It didn't even, it had nothing to do with that.
No, it was literally, that riff sounds a little too happy. We were, a heavy band. It's got to sound pissed. That riff was pissed, as in pissed off. That's a great riff.
Yeah, but you and I also grew up listening or watching the Flintstones and having a gay old time. So there were multiple ways that we interpreted that word. You know what I mean? And yeah, I mean, don't be gay. That was not, it wasn't even thought of, at least again, in my mind growing up, in my circle of friends growing up, between me and you growing up, it wasn't literally calling somebody homosexual in a derogative way. It was just don't do that. Yeah, what are you doing that for? You know what I mean? If pencil was the word, right? For as ridiculous as it sounds, then we would have, if there was a word that could have represented in that time frame, in that period of history, what we were trying to say, it could have been pencil. Don't be a fucking pencil, man. What are you doing? Now, would we be anti-pencil? Anti-lead? Are we anti-pencil sharpener, perhaps?
Anti-Pennsylvania.
Because the pencil sharpener is clearly sexual. You're sticking it in and you're grinding it and you're making it pointy and it comes out and then no. So none of that was the case. So my concern is, and we'll wrap it up with this. Probably my favorite. All right, I'm going to ask you. All right, because the answer to this is,
I've got a question for you also when we're done.
Okay, so my question to you is, do you know who was most instrumental in writing the First Amendment?
I do not know.
Madison.
Okay.
He is one of several of my favorite founding fathers, Jefferson being up there as well. But Madison, I never think gets enough credit. He actually did the hard work of making everything come together. Specifically within, the Bill of Rights, I mean, you name it, the Constitution. He was very instrumental. Not very well liked, right? And that's what I like about him, is he didn't care if you liked him. I mean, he would prefer you did, but that wasn't what was important. What was important was creating this new form of government by the people, for the people, of the people. And he really held hard onto that. And the First Amendment, I think, is amazing. But I also think that we live now in a culture where we don't know what the truth is. We don't know what the lies are. We don't know if our news is actually telling us the truth or if they're just telling us their opinion. We don't know what we're allowed to say and what we're not allowed to. Here's what you're allowed to say. Damn near anything that's on your fucking mind, specifically if it has any political ramification. And if you make it humorous, then it falls under parody law. That's where we are. So don't be afraid to speak your mind. Don't be afraid to make the joke. The worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to lose a relationship, a friendship, a business partner, a business transaction. Well, is that really who you want to be in business with? I'll give you an example. Going back to the N-word, or even fag, okay? If I'm sitting in a meeting and I'm contemplating whether or not I'm going to sign a contract with a company to do some business, and either of those two terms come up, you know what, guys, let me have 24 hours to think about whether, I'm going to go through with this. And then I'm not. But at least they've had the opportunity to speak freely. Could it cost them my business or vice versa? Yeah. But that's okay. That's the way it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be that you do business with people who you can tolerate and think are good people. You're friends with people who are like-minded and hopefully good people. But when you hear them say some shit that you can't get behind and you call them out on it, if they want to push back, let them. But at least you know who they are. So that's why I say, like, with the Democrats, I think that they're really dropping the ball by trying to constrain any type of speech at all. Let everyone say what they have to say.
Only really pertains to certain Democrats, not all of them.
Not all of them, but I think that there is a general. Okay, so as an example, not every Republican hates people with brown skin, but boy, there are a lot of them that are elected.
This is true.
Oh, there we go. Okay. All right, your question.
All right. First off, since this is probably my last show before Halloween, I want to give out a couple of movie choices for people to watch to get in the spirit.
Good.
Which would be number 1, The Gate from 1987. If you haven't seen it, go see it. It's fun. Number 2, obviously Bram Stoker's Dracula.
God love them.
Gary Oldman was
amazing. Keanu Reeves.
Crossed oceans of time.
Keanu fucking Reeves was great.
Yeah, he was.
I mean, for what the part was.
That the line though in that is the whole "I have crossed centuries of time."
Yeah, that's a great line.
It's awesome. But also, I want to throw out there Frankenweenie because it's fun, and Scooby Doo and the Ghoul School.
All right, I'm drawing a blank on the name of this movie. It's a Johnny Depp movie. It's where he's the chaser of classic books and collectible books. Something. Yeah, he is a antique book dealer, and oh fuck, God, what is it?
Is it From Hell?
No.
No. I have no idea what you're talking about then.
Oh, this is going to bother me.
Well, while you're thinking, I'll give out some songs here. Number 1, Halloween by Susie and the Banshees. And number 2, Spook City, USA by the Misfits. If you want something more classic, go for Batman, Wolfman, Frankenstein, or Dracula by the Diamonds from 1959.
I am still looking for this fucking movie.
This is a show that never ends.
No, it's going to unfortunately, it's going to have to unfortunately end right now. It's not the liberty of not Secret Window. No, not Blow. Oh, God damn it. No, not Sleepy Hollow. Not the Ninth Gate. The ninth gate. Is it a great movie? No. Is it a fun movie? Absolutely. Did I enjoy the shit out of it? You fucking bet I did. And with that, that's another Elsie's Little Pickles.
I got a question for you.
Oh, God damn it. I worked so hard to craft that beautiful exit.
That was not beautiful.
No,
I hate to tell you that. that was not beautiful.
It was horrible.
All right, I got 2 quick questions for you.
All right.
Hopefully you can answer them quick. If you could replace any one person's head with a pumpkin, who would it be?
Me.
What? Why?
You guys said answer quickly, and that was the first thought I had.
Fair enough. Touché. What?
No, actually, I would go Trump. And that wouldn't be a big. That wouldn't be a big switch.
Wouldn't be a stretch. No. What Halloween movie villain would you most identify with?
Ooh. Oh, that's a good one. That's a really good one because the first thing that comes to mind actually is the Headless Horseman. That's that was the first thought. That was the first thought. I don't even know where that came from. I don't even know why that came. Oh, that's a really good question. I'm gonna stick with the Headless Horseman.
Interesting.
I think,
Okay.
and I don't have a reason. And maybe next time once you're back
Is
on,
it perhaps
I just think
because you like to occasionally bust out into tunes? Well,
Well,
oh, actually, I take that back. He never sang anything.
no,
He just, yeah.
no, I remember as a kid that was the one that spooked me. That was the one that always got to me. So
Mhm.
I don't know if that's just like, I never got really rocked by like Freddie or Jason or like none of that shit, Michael Myers. Like that never did it for me. But there was always that the legend of Sleepy Hollow kind of, I don't know, that idea of a headless horseman. I thought that was kind of cool. I thought it was kind of cool, but it was scary, but it was cool.
If I were a villain, I could just do something and be a movie villain or villain in real life. Is really what I'm aiming for. I would want to be known as the Tripper. I would I'm not going to kill you.
Just going to trip you.
Pincher.
You know what else? The other one I actually kind of like.
Beware for his fingers of horror, the Pincher.
The other one that I would actually go with is Jack from Nightmare Before Christmas. There was a kindness and a sweetness there.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean. But still,
sweet naivete.
Yeah, but still, clearly the bad guy. At least,
is he really the bad guy?
Well, I think that's how
he was not the bad guy.
I don't
he
think
was the hero.
The hero of his story. But I think that
the hero in general. He stopped Oogie Boogie from Santa Claus.
Well, that's true. That's true.
But then Santa Claus came back to help.
But there was like an implied, this is the bad guy. Don't you think? Or
No.
Did I always read that wrong?
I think you read that wrong.
I thought that was kind of like he was the bad guy who became good. You know what I mean? Like he made that transfer. Like it was
his job was to scare people.
It was the story of growth.
Not his fault.
Well, that's true. I mean, but you're always giving the benefit of the doubt. You're just the big teddy bear that just wants to cuddle every little ugly creature on the fucking planet.
He enjoyed experiencing Christmas and wanted to.
You just say this because you like Christmas and you like fucking Halloween. Those are your two favorite holidays.
I will scare the piss out of you, literally, and then give you a little present.
I know you will. And I think that everyone needs to know this about you. I can't wait till we actually do some live shows because I want to see how many people just come up and want to hug the teddy bear versus just scatter away from me so that they can get closer to you. And that
little they do know that I would be the Tripper in that situation.
He's the Tripper. And that's another Elsie's Little Pickles.
Go out and scare somebody, people.
Don't be afraid. Speak your mind.